Hello everyone and welcome back to SportsScene. I'm Flanagan.
I'm Camardella.
I'm Daniel Palmore.
And I'm Sara, Atashi. On Saturday, USC football took down Arizona State 42-25 at the Coliseum. The Trojans are now off to a 5-0 start, which hasn't been seen in a full season since 2006. The number 6 Trojans are now one of the 16 remaining undefeated FBS teams. In head coach Lincoln Riley's first season in LA, he has already surpassed the win total of last year's team. But this win against the 1-4 Sun Devils was not as smooth as expected. USC struggled to dominate in the first half, but made it clear they were not going down that easy in the second.
It was a tale of two halves at the Coliseum on Saturday as USC extended its turnover streak to 5 straight games with a fourth quarter interception. In the first half, USC struggled with their zone coverage as ASU averaged 8 yards per play in the first half, but the unit turned things around in the second half as ASU only averaged 3 yards a play. The Sun Devils scored every time they touched the ball in their first 3 possessions, but only mustered 1 touchdown and a 2-point conversion following the halftime break. Now I'll ask you all, with such a stark difference in each half, which half was the real USC defense?
You got to go with the second half. I mean, getting that consistent turnover honestly sealed the deal for me. You saw them come back. You saw a transition through halftime. And you really saw, that number's huge. That 5-yard difference really shows that USC defense stepped things up in the second half and really shut down Arizona on the scoring side, too.
Yeah, and the second half is what matters, and you've seen us do it in the last 5 games. We're number 1 in the nation in interceptions, and I think we're just going to continue that these next few games.
Yeah.
I would say 2 drives that really stood out to me. To start the second half, Arizona State had 2 opportunities to take the lead. First drive, USC got a huge second down sack. The second drive forced a 3 and out and let the offense take over from there. In big spots, they got the stops they needed to.
Yeah. I was just really impressed with how the USC defense sort of turned the page in the second half, and it really was a tale of two halves because we saw them give up 17 first half points to ASU, and then we only saw them give up 1 touchdown that came late in the game. And it was an emotional game for a lot of players like Eric Gentry, who was playing against his former team, and I just liked how he was able to he and the team overall was sort of able to overcome all of that.
Okay.
After a season low 17 points against Oregon State, USC got back on track against ASU. The Trojans scored 42 points, and it was the 4th time USC has scored at least 40 points this season. USC silenced any doubters of the offense against Arizona State. Caleb Williams threw for a season-high 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. Williams' elusiveness was on display with 44 yards on the ground and 1 rushing touchdown. Running back Travis Dye scored 2 more touchdowns to give him 5 on the season, and wide receiver Jordan Addison had 105 receiving yards. Brendan Rice had a season-high 72 yards, and wide receiver Kyron Hudson caught his first touchdown of the season for the Trojans. After watching these highlights, what are your guys' thoughts on the USC offense?
In the sport of football, to win consistently, you need to get consistent play from your quarterback. And Caleb Williams answered a lot of questions for USC in this game. Arizona State did everything they could on the defensive front to pressure him and make him uncomfortable, and he frankly stayed poised. Made excellent throws while on the move, always found receivers, threw it away when he needed to, and ran the ball for gains when he needed to. This was his best game of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there were definitely times where he was doubted, especially after Oregon State. People were questioning his ability, and he just proved everyone wrong this past game.
Looking just at the progression of games, you just see this development of team. You see Caleb Williams using the different weapons he has on the field. You see Travis Dye, you see Jordan Addison. Everyone's getting better, and everyone's using every game to build on. And I think Lincoln Riley's motto, bend, don't break, on the defensive side, offense just keeps showing out, keep scoring. And I think that's really what the USC offense is about right now. Keep scoring, keep driving, get those third down conversions. And we've really seen it these past 5 games, and I'm excited to see what happens this weekend.
Me too. Washington State will enter the Coliseum on Saturday, coming off of their strongest defensive effort of the season, keeping conference rival Cal out of the end zone en route to a 28-9 win. Jordan Addison spoke Tuesday morning about the challenges that the Cougar defense presents.
They got they got one long defender, and the other corner that play on the left side, he's a pretty scrappy dude. He likes to be aggressive at the line, so we just got to prepare and make sure we're ready to work.
Offensively, The Cougars had an explosive performance led by quarterback Cameron Ward. Ward averaged 8.3 yards per attempt on 40 passes, compiling 343 yards on the day. Wideout Renard Bell was his top target, recording 115 yards receiving and hauling in a 37-yard touchdown. Ward is third in the Pac-12 in passing yards per game. The Cougars will give the Trojans a test with their defensive line as well. Here to talk about that is Hayes Flanagan with Trojans offensive tackle Bobby Haskins.
Here with me today is USC left tackle Bobby Haskins. Bobby is a senior redshirt transfer from UVA. Thanks so much for joining me today, Bobby.
Thanks for having me.
So what is it like to gel with a team that is full of transfers, such as yourself?
It's been an incredible experience and a lot of fun. We have a lot of new faces here this year, and the amount of time we spent with each other in the winter, over the summer, and now through the season has given us all, great opportunities to get to know each other and really come together and form a brotherhood, which is what we have. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you feel the O-line has progressed throughout the early non-conference games leading up to this point as you look to the Washington State game, the Boulder game, the Cal game, these big Pac-12 matchups?
Yeah, I think we're taking steps in the right direction. I think our communication is continuing to improve, and that's a huge thing. As an offensive line, you got to be on the same page with each other. You got to talk to each other about what the defense is trying to do to you. So I think if we just continue to work on the communication parts, we'll continue to take steps in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. And last week the team came out in the second half with a lot of grit. Can you just explain what happened in the locker room? What was that energy? And it really changed, and you really played both sides of the ball.
Yeah. I think our energy was a little bit down in the first half, and so coming into halftime, Coach really got on us to step up the energy, and we got on ourselves and on each other as well to play with the energy, the effort, and the focus that we pride ourselves on in that second half. And so I think that's what we were able to do.
Yeah, no. And this game's going to be very telling for USC's O-line as Washington State ranks third in tackles for loss and 7 in the nation for sacks. So how is USC going to approach this level of defense?
Yeah, I think our communication is going to be a huge part of it. They have some interesting things they like to do up front. And so anytime you're facing a great opponent like Washington State, you got to be communicating with each other. But we feel like we're extremely well prepared with Coach Henson, our offensive line coach, and Coach Riley. So, we're excited to get out there and show a lot of people what we can do.
Yeah, I am super excited. So last question, Cam Ward and Caleb Williams have both had the offense rolling. How do you feel this game is going to go? Do you think it's a potential shootout? Do you think a lot of points are going on the board, or do you think it's more going to be a defense-controlled game?
Yeah, I think kind of the beauty of football is you never really know how a game's going to go. We're working on our offensive schemes and our assignments this week, and I know our defense is locked in, doing everything they're supposed to do. So, we're both going to come out and execute at a really high level and, go out there and get the win.
Yeah, I am super excited. Thanks so much, Bobby, for coming. And we know this game is going to be super competitive and one to watch.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Bobby, for coming in. We know this game is going to be competitive, but how do you all think the USC offense will respond to Washington State's pressure on defense?
I would say that USC is going to do something that not a lot of teams have been able to do against Washington State, and that's run the football. If you take a look at what USC has been doing the past couple weeks, this running back rotation is now 3 deep with Relief Brown getting all this new playing time. But Travis Dye can be the focal point of their offense. He can get those gritty yards. He can run guys over. I think USC is going to beat Washington State at their own game when their defense is on the field on Saturday.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be putting a lot of pressure on them. Cameron Ward is great, but he's thrown 7 interceptions this season so far. And again, USC is leading the nation in interceptions. And when we put that pressure on them, we shouldn't have a problem.
I mean, turnovers are going to be such a big key because Washington State this season has been one of the best red zone offenses in all of college football, as well as the Pac-12. I believe they have the top red zone touchdown percentage in the entire conference. USC is going to need to be able to force those turnovers in the low red area in order to keep the score low.
Should be a great game coming up on Saturday. And so moving on to soccer, women's soccer had another successful weekend up in Oregon. The Trojans defeated Oregon State 5-1 on Thursday and Oregon 4-0 on Sunday, improving their record to 7-1-1. and moving up 12 spots to number 8 in the United Soccer Coaches Power Rankings. The Trojans are now 3-0 in conference play. The team has not lost a game since their first match against Purdue. On Thursday, senior midfielder Croy Bethune had 1 goal and 2 assists against the Beavers. USC dominated the entire game, allowing just 7 shots from the Beavers compared to the Trojans' 26. Following a win in Corvallis, the team headed to Eugene, where they handed the Ducks a 4-0 loss on Sunday. The women of Troy came out firing, scoring 3 goals in the first half. The team dominated the offense as they outshot Oregon 26-7. Midfielder Croy Bethune scored 2 of those 3 goals in the first period. After Croy's outstanding performance this weekend, she earned Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. And the women will look ahead to this weekend as they play Arizona tomorrow at 3:30 and Arizona State Sunday at noon. Head over to Sony McAllister to watch these Pac-12 matchups. What record do you guys think the Trojans will finish with this weekend?
I'm going 2-0. I think the matchup against Arizona State is really interesting because they have not played anyone really competitive. So they're going into the game with only losing 1 game and with 2 ties. So I think it will be interesting when someone's looking at, oh, here are the stats, here's what's going on. But I do believe that USC, they are not ranked number 8 for no reason. They have a lot of talent on the field, and they've shown that they are an offensive powerhouse. They are scoring. They're putting numbers on the board. So I think, honestly, 2-0, easy. And they should get this win this weekend.
Yeah, I agree, especially with that home field advantage. And you have Simone Jackson, Croy Bethune obviously killing the game. And we have had some big opponents. We really showed out against TCU, and I don't see what would be stopping us this weekend.
Well, I agree with you, Hayes. I have this Arizona State game circled on my calendar. And the reason why is if you look at recent performances from USC soccer, they have dominated in terms of shot volume, dominating their other opponents in terms of getting shots on goal and getting shots towards the net. Arizona State has not had many opponents do that to them this season. That's going to be a much more even game, and they have the 3rd best shooting percentage in all of the Pac-12. So that's going to be a lot of pressure on USC defensively and in goal to be able to limit that shot percentage and get big saves when they need to, when there hasn't been that many opportunities for them to show off in that area of the game.
Yeah, I think it should be super interesting, as you mentioned, just with the defense having pressure for once. We see USC soccer team as a offensively dominated ball, so I'm excited to watch how USC handles the pressure on defense.
Me too. I will definitely be there tomorrow. Last weekend, women's volleyball went 2-0 in Galen Center against Utah and Colorado. Led by outside hitter Skylar Fields and setter Mia Tuaniga, the Trojans are now 11-4 overall and 3-1 in conference. Friday night, USC took down the Buffs in 4 sets. Senior transfer Skylar Fields led the way with 24 kills and 1 ace. Sophomore Mia Tuaniga was on fire, setting a new school record with 10 service aces. Tuaniga also had 37 assists, 10 digs, 3 blocks, and 3 kills, capturing the only triple-double in USC history. On Sunday afternoon, the Trojans beat the Utes in 4 sets and collected some more records. Fields matched her season high of 25 kills and finished her 6th 20-kill match of this season. Freshman outside hitter Jordan Wilson also put on a show with a career-high 16 kills in just 32 attempts. The woman of Troy also boasted a season high of 14 blocks. This weekend, the Trojans head to the desert to face Arizona and Arizona State. With Skylar Fields and Mia Tuaniga on the court, can the Trojans expect to struggle at all the rest of the season?
Well, I'm very interested to see how this week goes. And, you know, when I think about volleyball, you think of these long sets that go on, teams giving it their all, and you have to understand how devastating it has to be for another team to have 10 service aces had against you. And that's what Tuaniga did. To record 10 in a game, it steals 10 points for your offense. It keeps your guys rested while racking up the score. If they can keep that sort of effort up, and I know it was a record and it'll probably go down a bit, but if you're able to do that consistently throughout a match, that's a huge advantage.
You know, Sarah, you talked about Tuaniga, and I think it's interesting because she is such a dominant presence on the court as a setter, as a server, as a defensive player. But I was talking to a USC volleyball player, and I learned that they do not have a backup setter. And I think that's really interesting because if something were to happen to Tuaniga, who would step into that role? Setter is vital on that team. So I think, honestly, the role Tuaniga plays on the court is vital. And I think without her, the USC team would not be the same.
Of course, and she's only a sophomore. That's definitely a lot of pressure, but she's doing so well right now. I can only hope that she can continue. And if not, I think a libero could step up as setter, and I think they can just keep putting that pressure on their opponents.
Exactly.
We also have to talk about Skylar Fields a bit. I mean, she leads the Pac-12 in kills and kills per set. When you have a force like that on your offensive side, it's going to be very hard to beat you.
Yeah, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, she is a beast out there, that's for sure.
No doubt. Heading to the pool, the USC water polo team continues to roll, racking up 2 more wins this past weekend over UC Santa Barbara on Friday and UC Irvine on Sunday. The Trojans started slow on Friday afternoon, falling behind 5-3 in the second quarter, but stormed ahead when a Jake Earhart goal with seconds remaining in the half began a run of 7 unanswered for USC to put the game away. Sunday's game was a wire-to-wire victory as 10 different Trojans found the back of the net in a 16-10 win. Massimo Di Matre had a big game this weekend, recording 4 goals against the Anteaters. The 2 wins improved USC to 12-4 on the year. The number 5 Trojans will zing game action at noon with a home matchup against San Jose State at the Ugensu Aquatic Center.
It's sure to be another action-packed week here at SC. What are you all most excited to see from USC Athletics in the next couple of days?
I've got the football game circled on my calendar on Saturday. I could make a pretty compelling argument that Washington State, with a road win against Wisconsin and hanging with Oregon for 4 quarters, should be ranked. This is the best opponent they're going to face all season. I'm very interested to see how they respond to it.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. I mean, they are one of the teams who's gotten the most AP polls votes without being ranked, so it should be fun, but I'm going to the soccer game. Really excited to see that Arizona State matchup and excited to see what USC can put together.
Yeah, I won't be traveling to the desert, but watching volleyball on the screen is going to be fantastic. Just that Tuaniga to Fields connection is unbeatable. I can't wait.
Like all of you guys, I'll definitely be excited for the football game. Washington State coming in, they've played some really good opponents this year. They won't be afraid of the moment. It's going to be a really good game. And then just with other sports like water polo, soccer, and volleyball, it's just so cool to be at a school where every sport seems to be doing well right now. So there should definitely be a lot of great action going on this weekend.
Definitely. Can't wait to see what happens. Thanks for tuning in to Sports Scene. From everyone at Annenberg Media, have a great rest of your day.